Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a nice relaxing aquarium in the background. This is one of my favorite backgrounds. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you 20 things that I have decluttered or gotten rid of out of my life in my 20s. So I'm early 30s currently, and I was kind of doing some reflecting, and I realized I had done a lot of growing from my 20s to my 30s, and not only got rid of physical items, but I've also gotten rid of a lot of intellectual or emotional items. So this is a nice list of kind of physical and non-physical items that I've decluttered and gotten rid of, and maybe you would consider getting rid of some of these things too. Number one, shoes. In my 20s, so long story short, when I was little, his pinky toe used to like curve on its side, and I used to tease him relentlessly, like his pinky's crooked and it just like gave up and turned 90 degrees and fell over, blah, 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 right? In my 20s, I noticed just slightly my pinky toe started to turn like my dad's, and it scared the shit out of me. So I did all this research and I found out like how bad shoes are for you, the heel lift, the arches are bad for you, the shape of the shoe, and that is how I discovered barefoot shoes. And I've never went back. I got one pair and I was like, I wanted to force myself to try it for 1 year so I can make a good conclusion. And I ended up falling in love with them. It does take time. It took a couple weeks to learn how to walk properly, because obviously you can't slam your heel down in a barefoot shoe, whereas a normal shoe has so much cushion you can just slam it down, right? Or, walk heavy or whatever. After the year was up, I decided I absolutely loved them and wanted to get more shoes. It was winter and we had a snowstorm, and I put my snow boots on, and because it had a heel lift and an arch, not only did it like hurt my feet physically, I felt like I was on stilettos. Like I felt so far off the ground and so disconnected. I didn't like the feeling. That's how I knew like this was the right choice for me. And so I got rid of all of my shoes. Literally all of them but one pair of flip-flops. And throughout my 20s, I just slowly replaced them with barefoot shoes. Now, because you can really only buy barefoot shoes online, I don't ever buy shoes in the store. I don't even go down the shoe aisle. So I have completely gotten rid of that out of my life. And I've also downsized because I kind of maintain a one type of shoe rule, one boot, one sandal, one sneaker, etc., right? And I kind of keep myself in that little bracket where if I'm going to buy another pair of shoes, then I need to get rid of one. Number 2 is band t-shirts. Me and DC used to, every band, like every tour, every concert, we would get a shirt, right? Recently, Twisted's Psycho tour, they had 3 legs. First leg, second leg DC went to, and then the third leg I went to. And guess what? They didn't make shirts for the third leg. Why? I don't know. They just decided not to. So I missed out on that, and it wasn't like I can just go to eBay or something and purchase it. Like, they didn't make the third leg tour shirts, and I don't know why. And so up to that point, I had just been getting them because I was collecting them at that point, right? It didn't even matter if I liked the design or not. It was an excitement thing of collecting these tour shirts. When that cycle broke, it was kind of like, why am I collecting all these? It kind of got that point where like, well, I can't have a full collection. So it kind of alleviated that stress of like, I don't need to have a full collection of every tour and every concert I've been to, because it's impossible. I literally cannot. We know a guy who makes t-shirts, like getting a custom one done. And then I was like, that seems kind of silly, doesn't it? Like, to go through all this and to spend this money on a shirt that I can barely wear anyways. And that kind of comes back to the other thing where me and DC have so many gathering and concert and tour shirts and Hollow Wicked shirts. Our closet is full. All right? It's full. And I don't like when it's so crammed full I can't even dig through stuff. And if you guys have a job like Monday through Friday, there's only like 2 days out of the week you can even wear them. So I decided to go ahead and not do my custom Psycho Tour shirt and just let that go, and moving forward, let the future ones go. So me and DC, we haven't decided not to buy anymore. Like if one comes along that we really, really like the design, we'll probably get it. But I have not bought a tour shirt since then. And I have just been rocking the ones I have. If one comes up, like, we'll talk then, you know, like Camp Zool. We got other shirts. We did get a different shirt there, but we didn't get a tour shirt. So it wasn't like I have to get a tour shirt, you know? That was the other thing after the cycle tour that happened was a Hollow Wicked. I tried to I waited in line so long, y'all, to get a tour shirt. And I wasn't able to get one. And then I kind of was like, why the hell am I going through all this stress for what? A shirt? Pfft. I just let that go. Let that go. Number 3 is long hair and hair accessories. When I was younger, I used to have really long hair. I'm sure there's some old vlog clips of it. My hair is naturally so thick and so curly that every day before work, I'd have to completely wet it, spend lots of time braiding it and getting it pulled back. The elastic hair ties would constantly be stretched out. I had to buy new hair ties because my hair is so thick. It was a pain to wash. It took so much time. I always felt like, I won't say names, but there were a few comments made to me by a few different people that, like, oh, you know, you look better with longer hair or whatever, right? So I kind of felt like to be attractive or whatever, you know, I needed the long hair. But in reality, I am so much more happier with this short hair, and this is so easy to wash. And like today I washed it and I literally just combed it and I'm like, got the door like this. Like, it's so nice. I got rid of pretty much all of my hair accessories. I kept a few hair ties just in case I have friends stay over or whatever, but I got rid of pretty much everything. And this is just, I love it. This is what works for me. I love my hair like this and it makes me happy. So I've let go of long hair. I used to go through this cycle, especially in the winter and summer, where, you know, I just hated my hair half the year because it was just so hot and it would just take so much time to deal with. And then I couldn't wear it down unless I straightened it because it was so thick and curly that, like, just turning my head and stuff on my shirt, it would cause it to kind of like poof up, and it was just nightmarish. Life is too short to hate your hair, all right? If you can do something about it, change it. And, you know, so I chopped it all off, and it's been chopped off for a few years now, and I absolutely love my short hair. Number 4 is streaming services. Me and DC started this new thing several years ago where we only have one streaming service at a time. So currently we have HBO Max, and then once the Star Wars series comes out on Disney Plus, we will get rid of HBO Max and then get Disney Plus for a little bit. And then after we watch our shows, we'll get rid of that and go back to Netflix or Hulu, whatever, right? And I really like this. This has been really good for us because we had so many different shows to keep up on. You know, you end up spending so much time on the weekends, like watching TV, wasting away. And we just didn't like that. We have a one TV household in our whole entire house, one TV. And we try to minimize like 2 hours a night on TV. So we watch our show. Like right now, we're finishing the series Friends. And when we're done with that, I don't think we have anything else on HBO Max to keep up on. So we're going to probably switch streaming services. And it's fun that way because then it's exciting to go watch some shows you haven't seen in a really long time. Instead of binge watching and trying to keep up on everything, it's more of something to look forward to. Number 5 is money and work. In my 20s, I was very much, and I think it's just like the way I was raised, like more money equals more success, right? So every time I got a promotion or a raise, my parents would be like so happy for me, and more money equals more bills. Let me just tell you, right? Because when me and DC first started out, we started out with nothing, y'all. We didn't have a stove. We didn't have a washer and dryer. We were hand washing in the bathtub with a plunger. Like, that's where we started, and somehow we survived. And then I look at now where we're both making so much more money, and yet bills are tight. And we were kind of like, all right, what is going on here? And we kind of realized that over time, like having multiple streaming services, like when you make more money, you tend to spend more money, right? So we decided to completely change our finances, and we made several sacrifices so that we had more time. So we chose, to us, it was more beneficial to spend more time with each other and work less hours than it was to have that money. So we made some very frugal changes. DC got a new job with less hours. I got a new job with less hours, and we get to spend more time with each other and more time making YouTube videos, which is what we enjoy. And yeah, it is a sacrifice, but it's a decision that we made, and we're very happy we made it. Number 6 is getting nails done, where I used to work at my big girl job, I'll call it. That's like where I made the most money ever. The girls, it was a bunch of girls in the office, and they would go get their nails done, and I kind of would get roped into it and stuff. And now I don't do that anymore. I don't waste money on stuff like that. I do my own nails. Same thing with my hair. I don't ever go get my hair cut. I do my own hair all the time. Number 7 is earrings. When I was a teenager, I was really stupid, and I pierced my ears, all of them, which I don't know how well you can see on the camera, but I have this first one, which is like a permanent one. And then I have this loop one here, which is a permanent one. And then I have another hole up above it. And I did that in my 20s. I just kind of realized it just wasn't my vibe anymore to have 3 earrings and having to change them and everything. It was just, I'm just not a big girly girl. I'm not like into jewelry and stuff. And I kind of decided that just wasn't bringing me joy anymore. So I let the top ones grow shut. And then I got these 2 permanent ones, so I literally never have to change my earrings. I'd go in the shower and I wash my ears really good with these in, and like, I don't have to ever worry about earrings. I can double hook them so I can put earrings on for special occasions, and I can leave these permanent ones in and just put, the only downside was when I had to go get x-rays. Like, that was a bitch to take all these out, but that's not very often, right? So I got rid of a lot of jewelry, including most of my earrings. Number 8 is quality over quantity. And I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but I did want to mention one thing is when I say quality over quantity, I mean when it's possible. I don't mean all the time. Obviously, there's going to be times where you get a flat tire and you just going to go in and get the cheapest one. Like, you got to do what's best for you, right? But like with my barefoot shoes, that is quality over quantity, right? I don't have a bunch of quantity of shoes anymore. I have a few really good shoes. And what's funny is my very first pair of barefoot shoes, and I think I showed this in a vlog a long time ago, my very first pair, which literally are falling apart, but they still work. I have took them and wore them to every single Juggalo gathering I've ever been to, and they're still usable shoes. Like, they looking rough, all right? I'm not going to sugarcoat that. They look rough. But they have been to every single gathering with me, and yeah, that's quality over quantity. Like, they were made very well. They were expensive. They were like $100, I think. But they've lasted me like years. So that's what I mean. Like, when you can afford it, quality, something a little more expensive with better quality is worth it in the long run. You will save money in the long run. But some things don't make sense for that, right? Like, you don't need fancy Q-tips and, fancy towels and whatever. Like, sometimes buying the cheapest thing is better. So you just gotta, like, weigh it out. But we have tried to get rid of that mentality of having several shoes, several purses. DC is really bad with several hats, that kind of thing. And more so about the quality of how much do I like this hat? Does this hat fit my head? He's got like 10 hats that don't even fit him well. Like, what is the point of having them, Number 9, and I'm not going to get too in depth with it just because it's super personal, but it is a vegan and vegetarian diet. I did a challenge for 1 year to be vegan, and I absolutely loved it. I had a lot of health benefits. After the 1 year, I switched to going vegetarian, and I did that for several years, was very happy. Due to some other circumstances that I don't want to get into just because it's really personal, it just didn't make sense for me anymore, basically. And it still hurts me because at heart, I am a vegan. Like, at heart, I don't want animals to be harmed. And I wish we had the access to, like, have our own chicken so we can have our own free-range, grass-fed, out in the open, eggs and stuff. But without getting too personal, basically, I have a lot of dietary restrictions, and it just didn't make sense anymore. I just couldn't find food locally, and it is something that still bothers me, and maybe someday I can have my own little farm and change things, but right now it just makes better sense for me and my journey to kind of go back to, and we don't eat red meat. We definitely don't eat red meat. And we do try to limit and try to go towards plant-based products when we can, but sometimes it's inevitable with the situation and where we live at, and that's all I'm going to say. But I do miss it, and I wish if I could snap my fingers, like, I would go back. Or I would make it an option for me to have that kind of diet. Number 10 is toxic people. And this one's super personal. I think you guys know a little bit from a vlog, but basically we had some falling out with some family and some friends, and we just had to cut them out. We just had to. And these particular friends, and what happened most recently was, you guys know my dad is struggling with cancer, and it's really bad. And these couple people that I have in mind, one in particular, never reached out to check on me or DC. Like, it's my only dad, and it's DC's only dad he's ever had in his life. And they didn't even reach out to check on us. And that hurt so bad because it solidified what we already knew, which was they were a bad friend and they were very toxic, and we should have cut them out sooner. But there's that part of you that when you really care and love about somebody, you're hoping that that's not the case. And I think we overlooked a lot of things. But when they found out, like, my dad had cancer and everything, and they haven't even, like, checked on my dad, they haven't checked on me, on DC, they haven't even, like, offered to help or anything. These are people that me and DC would just drop everything for, right? And I still do deeply care about these people. Like, if this particular person, if she called me today and said, hey, my car broke down, I need a ride, I would be there in a heartbeat. Right? Because I still love her. I still care about her. I still consider her family. But we're not hanging out anymore. It's very, like, obvious she's a very bad friend, And she does not care about me and my well-being. So it's a one-sided relationship. And if you take anything away from this, know that no relationship is ever 50-50. And I don't think they're supposed to be, right? Sometimes you're pulling 80%, sometimes you're the one that's only pulling 20%. And that's how it's supposed to be, right? When you're down, your friends are supposed to come help and lift you up. And then when they're down, you're there for them, right? With these specific people that we had to cut out of our life this last couple years, me and DC were always doing 90-95%, right? We were there for everything, anytime they ever needed, and we still deeply care about them. But at the end of the day, when the one time we really needed them, the one time I could have used a shoulder to cry on or someone to call and check on me, they were not there for me. None of them were. And if that's not a big red flag, I don't know what is. So for my own mental health and out of respect for myself, I had to cut several people out of my life this last couple years. Just because some things have kind of come to light. And I think that deep down I kind of knew they were bad friends. But I was having trouble, like, letting them go. Because I was hoping maybe things would change. I don't know. But yeah, that, long story short, that's kind of... We've cut out several toxic people. People who have just been friends since high school. And, it's hard to let them go. And then I'm like, they're not really a good friend. I need to let them go. And one in particular... she was, like, I would consider my best friend at the time, right? Like, we worked together. She was my best friend. Loved her like a sister. And then I don't want to say what she did, but something happened, and I was like, hey girl, like, I love you, but I can't, right? Can't anymore. And we didn't talk for several years, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this last week, she's, like, commenting on my stuff and, like, texting me and stuff, and I'm like, girl, we're not cool. Like, she like picked up right where we left off, and I'm like, girl, it's been like 4-5 years. Like, you gotta do some damage control first. So I was just, like, respectful with her, but I was pretty distant, and it just is what it is. I will go into more of what she did later because it's actually a different number of mine. But yeah, I miss her, but I don't miss the bad toxic parts of her. So it's actually better for me in the long run. Number 11 is experiences over gifts. I've been doing this for several years where I have told family and friends no gifts. I do not want gifts. I'm trying to minimalize and declutter. Do not get me anything, please. I would rather have an experience. I want to go out to dinner, let's go bowling, let's go to a movie, let's go on vacation, whatever it is. I would rather have that than a gift. And I am so much more happy because have you guys ever got a gift that you didn't even want and now you're stuck with this guilty clutter and they spent money on it so you feel bad and then you have that guilt? No more. No more. So it's been working pretty good. And the thing is like I had a couple people resist, but I was like, look, you love me, right? And you want me to be happy, right? Okay, so I don't want a gift. And the thing is like if they really love you and want to spend time with you, then an experience over a gift should be better for both of you, right? It is what it is. Number 12 is no sugarcoating despair feelings. There is a way to be blunt and honest and still be compassionate and caring. And this goes back to that friend I used to work with. So basically, and like I said, we were literally best friends. Like she knows stuff that nobody else does. And she was a great friend, except she would stand me up all the time. Or she'd be like 2 hours late all the effing time. Or we would plan something as a group and we would all show up and she wouldn't be there. And we wouldn't hear from her for 2 days. And they'd be like, sorry, I left my phone at my mom's house. And it's like, nobody leaves their smartphone for days on end. Like, what are you talking about? So basically, and a lot of time, like in the beginning, I would just like, I just kind of had made that decision of like, I just can't be your friend anymore. It's causing me more stress and heartache than it is benefiting me. So the old me, when I distanced myself from her and wouldn't make plans, I would have just said like, oh, I'm busy, sorry, blah, blah, blah. But that would be sugarcoating despair feelings. So I told her in a very loving and caring way, hey, I love you. I love spending time with you. But you stood me up, last 3 times or whatever. And it's just not, it's causing me more harm than it is benefiting me. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But then she did it again. And so I just kind of had to like tell her like, look, for my own sanity, girl, I cannot make plans with you. Like, it kills me because I miss spending time with you, but I just can't. And I was just blunt and honest, but I did it in a very compassionate way. And I think she understood. So I hope she appreciates it. And good quality people will appreciate honesty over lying anyways. Number 13 is the right path. And I have in quotes Pocahontas. And what this means is in my 20s, I was in college and I had I think I had 2 classes left to finish, right? This class I was in was the worst instructor. Oh my God, I was miserable. And then it was out of town and it didn't end till 10 o'clock at night. So I would go to work and then I would drive out of town to the stupid class and I'd be there till 10 and I had to drive back and it's pitch black and there's a deer I had to watch for and I just hated it, okay? And in class, because this instructor was so just awful, I used to doodle on my finger right here the Pocahontas tattoo that she had on her arm. And I just did it every day because it would wash off in the shower. So I would just doodle it on every day. I don't know what happened, but I was driving home one day, right? And I looked over and I see this tattoo. And I look in front of me and I see this road. And the road's kind of like, I have like a pivot in the road, right? And in that moment, all I could think about was in the Disney movie Pocahontas, when she is approaching that like split in the road. Well, it was a split in the road for me, but it was a split in the river for her. And one side was smooth and steady, and she was thinking about how that was a path her dad wanted her to take. But then the other path was like, had rocks and a waterfall and all this other shit, right? But that's the one she could hear calling her. Like, it was an epiphany, let me tell you, because I was only going to college mostly like because my dad really wanted me to, right? And he was helping me like financially trying to get through college. And I was just thinking like, what am I doing? Why am I taking this class, this course? Like it's for medical. So it's like, this is just not where I felt like I needed to be, right? In one of my classes, I had like an elective and I chose psychology and I loved it. It was my favorite class ever. So I'm like driving, I'm thinking, this medical path, which pays good, this is what my dad wants me to take. But the psychology, that's what's calling me. So that next day, I went to my admin at college and I dropped the class and I completely changed my major and everything. And I went into human services instead. And it was the best decision I've ever made. Totally loved it. So I think about that all the time now. Is like when I'm faced with a decision, even like cutting out toxic people, like we talked about previously. What is it? The easiest path is to just keep doing what you're doing, right? But maybe the other one is the best one for you, even though it's not easy. So I always try to like think of that, like what is the right path for me? All right, moving on. 14 is FOMO, FOMO, which stands for fear of missing out. This is something me and DC have talked extensively about because it is something that DC really struggles with. And FOMO is a marketing campaign, and I'm not going to say names, but y'all know who be like posting on Instagram, exclusive CD, one of a kind jersey, you can only get it this week, they'll be sold out, blah, blah, blah. That's FOMO. That's a marketing campaign to get you to buy it now so you don't think about it and change your mind. And it's fine. It works great for marketing, but not for me and my wallet. So, and back to like the tour shirt that I was thinking about having made, that's like a FOMO thing, right? I don't need that, but I had a fear of missing out, and I'm going to miss out on this opportunity, that kind of thing. So me and DC do talk about this very extensively when we want to buy or purchase something. We're like, do we really want this? Or is it just triggered by FOMO? And a lot of artists will say, well, not going to be available on streaming. You have to buy a CD now. And then they end up freaking releasing it anyways. Or like they'll have some kind of sale or whatever, or like limited time. And like, honestly, half the time it's not. Half the time it's really not. So we really try to like work on and letting that go. And I definitely have let that go in my 20s because I see now from growth and maturing that I purchased and made a lot of decisions on FOMO. So I try not to do that anymore. Number 15 is a friend-vatory. Friend-vatory? A friend inventory. Friend-verty. I don't know. However you say it. But basically, that is where you take the friendships in your life and you're going to do a little inventory on them like we discussed earlier. Obviously, nothing is ever 50-50, and it usually isn't. A healthy relationship fluctuates all over the place from day to day. But if you're always 90 and they're not, if you check on them but they're not checking on you, you know what I'm saying? I recently, after we had to get rid of a couple toxic people, I was like, who else in my life do I need to get rid of? And me and DC literally did a friend inventory. Like, we literally sat down like, okay, who are our friends? And like, let's like evaluate it for each other, right? And we kind of evaluated a couple people who I've since cut out. And because like when she was having a bad day, right? I was the one that, like, if I knew she had a bad day, I would show up to work the next day and surprise her with coffee on her lunch break. Or me and DC would invite her over for dinner. Like, we went out of our way to be good friends with this person. And then the one effing time we needed her, she wasn't there for us. And so it was like, you kind of have to do that friend inventory where it's like, okay, how much am I putting out and how much am I getting back? That's a huge part of it, right? And the other part too is, does this person bring me up or bring me down? And a couple people, they just brought me down. Honestly, if I got a raise or I was doing good, instead of cheering me on, they would make snarky remarks. Like, this one I will share. DC, for the first time in his life ever, he paid off a car and owns a car completely. That is massive news. That's huge. My dad took Kenny out to dinner to celebrate because how proud he was of him. All right? This person we're referring to, you know what they said to DC? It must be nice. Wish I had a car that was paid off. Totally two different parallels, right? So someone like my dad who is celebrating DC and like, oh, dude, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. And then on the other end, you have someone who's like bringing you down, making you feel guilty, not celebrating you and your accomplishments, not encouraging you to be a better person, right? And so that kind of is like the parallel of like we were kind of weigh it out, and there's different aspects you really need to look at when you're doing a friend inventory. And I don't suggest you just like start cutting people out for no reason. Like it needs to be really thought through. Are they adding joy into your life? Are they a good person? You know, do you care about them? Do you love them? Like all these factors need to be included. And that's what we did. And we just got rid of a bunch of people. But you know what? In that first like 6 months or so, it was hard because we're like, oh, I kind of miss them. But then you start to change your thought. It's like, but do I really miss them? And I started thinking about how they would behave when they would come over, and the bitching and the whining and the complaining. And it's like, no, I don't think I really miss them. I think I miss the idea of them, right? So after 6 months or so, we started making new friends. And now we have all this room and time for new people. And it has been, I'm really glad we did it, honestly. Number 16 is no lying. This kind of goes back to the sugarcoating people's feelings a little bit. When I was a kid, and not getting into too much details, I did not have a good relationship with my mother. It was really bad. Really, really bad. And one of the things that I noticed in shadow work, which is something I started doing in my late 20s, where there's like these questions, like journal questions, and you do like shadow work, I discovered through that I was basically trained to lie at a young, like a kid, like a young age, right? So when I was young with my mother in particular, you were damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? So if I lied, I got in trouble. If I told the truth, I got in trouble. If I was right, I got in trouble. If I was wrong, I got in trouble. It didn't matter. And so it kind of trained me to like white lie, right? To kind of what is the minimum amount to get out of the situation to avoid being yelled or screamed at or grounded or hit or whatever, right? It was a survival mechanism. It was, how can I survive this incident, right? And it trained me to be pretty good at white lying. And what I mean by that is like confrontation, right? Someone comes up and they're like, hey, how come you don't want to hang out with me anymore? And naturally, I want to be like, oh, girl, I'm just busy. Not that big of a deal. Don't take it personal, whatever. But that would be lying. That would be saving grace just to get out of the confrontation and the conversation. And I 100% left that in my 20s. I am like, especially this year, I am like making it a goal to like go out of my way to just not lie, even to save someone's feelings. So then I just like flat out say like, yeah, no, you're a bad friend. That's why I don't want to hang out with you anymore. like that's like literally why. But in a loving, compassionate way, right? So like I guess they kind of go together, but I noticed that like it's a survival mechanism just to like smooth and streamline out of situations. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to just be honest, and I don't want lying to be part of my character. So I left that in my 20s for sure. Number 17 is fast food. This has kind of come along with dietary restrictions, but during COVID, me and DC got in this really bad habit because we were working, well, I was working like 7 days a week, 6 days a week sometimes. They were so short-staffed during COVID because I was considered an essential employee that you couldn't go shopping, you couldn't go to stores, right? So I would leave my house, go to work, which was a group home, by the way. So I'm cooking and cleaning for other people all day long, and then come home. And there was nothing to do. There was nowhere to go. So we got in this habit of like, on my way home, I would get fast food for the two of us. Because he would get home before me, and then I would like bring food home, and we'd eat, and then we'd go to bed, and then repeat. It was so toxic. And we have cut that out completely. We do dine in to restaurants for like date nights or special occasions, but we don't do like fast food anymore. And it has saved us a lot of money too. Number 18, we're getting to the end here, is no time. This is something I learned a few years ago. I used to be really bad about this, where I would constantly say, like, oh, I don't have time for that, or sorry, I got busy, I didn't have time. A toxic family member was like, you don't come over and see me anymore. I'm like, yeah, I don't have time. But I heard, I think it was on a podcast or someone's YouTube channel, it's never a matter of you don't have time, it's a matter of priority. And that really stuck with me, because I was like, damn, they're right. If you think about it, you always have time for shit that you want to do. You always make time for shit you want to do. Right? So if it was a priority to you, like if going and visiting her was a priority, I would have gave up, that 2 hours of TV time at night or whatever, or being on YouTube or making a video that day or what. I would have gave that up to go spend time with her. But at the end of the day, spending time with her just wasn't a priority. And so I've tried, and I'm still working on it, is like getting away from that mindset of saying, sorry, I don't have time, to saying the truth. Like, hey, I got a lot of other stuff going on. If you want to meet me here, great. Otherwise, catch you later, And this particular family member she's not housebound. She just chooses to be housebound, okay? So she wants everyone to like cater and come to her. And that's like, basically I was like, hey, I got a lot going on today, but if you want to meet me at this location, we can get drinks. I got to eat lunch anyway, so I can stop and we can have lunch at the park, whatever. And she wouldn't do it. So I'm trying to get away from saying I don't have time, and more so like say, I got other priorities. I got a lot going on. This is what's going on in my life. And if they're good friends, they'll meet you halfway, right? Like, I had a friend recently, and I was like, hey, I gotta go to my dad's, and basically some manual labor to help him out. And he was like, oh, I'll meet you there and help you. Right? So I say, hey, this is what I got going on. He meets me halfway. Instead of me just thinking, oh, I'm too busy to hang out. He's like, oh, I'll meet you there, and we'll do it together. That's what good friends do. That's what good friends do. All right, number 19 is sugar. When I say we cut out sugar in my 20s, I don't mean cut out completely. I think I get about 5 grams a day, and on a bad day, maybe 8 grams. But I am mostly sugar-free for the most part, other than the 5 grams a day I get, and that's just a couple things, like the Vitamin that I take has a gram here and there, and so it's kind of inevitable. But yeah, I noticed like my acne got better, my afternoon crash, like getting tired, kind of slowly went away. And it's better now. It took a while, but I'm actually really happy. Like, I've noticed a lot of good benefits from cutting sugar down, not out, but down out of my diet. Number 20. Whew. This is it, guys. $25 allowance every paycheck. So me and DC decided to start this thing a while ago, where every paycheck, which we do like twice a month is what we do. We each get $25 in a virtual allowance. It is a shared notepad on a smartphone that we can both edit and we can both get to. And when we want to buy something, we use it out of that $20 fund. So you can like let it build up, or you can just like use it as you get it. No matter. It's no questions asked, right? You want to buy it, you buy it. It's your money. We don't follow this like strictly. Is just to kind of help us not overspend, because this is what we chose. Like, we both willingly chose. We wanted to do it this way, so we had more finances to go on a vacation or whatever, right? So recently, I think DC's had to do it twice, and I had to do it once. There was something we really, really wanted, and there wasn't enough in the allowance. In particular, I was going to be $12 short. So I just say, hey, DC, this is the item I'm really wanting to get, but I'm going to be $12 short. He said, all right, no biggie. And I do it anyways. And I put myself at a negative 12, right? And he's done that a couple times too. So that's kind of our rule, is you buy whatever the hell you want. But if you're going to go over, just kind of let the other person know. and like we're not gonna like tell each other no, you know what I mean? We don't have that kind of relationship. So he was like, I can tell you really want it, just go ahead and get it. I don't care if you're $12 under or whatever, right? Or over. And so I went ahead and bought it. And then the next time I got paid, or the next time I got 25, like it took care of it, right? And that's the thing. When it comes down, we don't want to go over every month like that. We don't want to make a habit of it. But if it's something that we can tell the other person really wants, like, you know what I mean? If they thought it through and it's not a FOMO thing, it's something they really want. So, and that has helped us a lot on slowing down our spending. We still, like, that allowance is just for like CDs or clothes or purses or like merchandise, like tour shirts or something, right? Something we don't need. So clothing we need, you know, toiletries, stuff like that, that does not count, you know. And at the end of the day, like, DC wanted to go to a concert, and that was going to be like a ticket, a hotel, gas. That didn't come out of his allowance, though. Like, technically it should have, you know what I mean? No, like, it's my husband. He really wanted to go. I don't care. We just like run things by each other, and we're both pretty like, okay, whatever. And then sometimes we hold each other accountable. Like, do you really need this? You know, how about you think about it for 2 days, and then if you still want it, then just go for it. Go get it, you know? So, and that's how healthy relationships should be. It should be like, you should feel comfortable coming to each other and talking to each other, and it shouldn't be like, oh no, I'm in trouble, you know, whatever. So that is my 20 things that I decluttered and left in my 20s. If there's something that wasn't on this list that you decluttered or you left behind in your 20s, please comment down below. And it doesn't have to be your 20s. Like, if it's something you left behind in your 30s or your 40s, like, please let me know. I am so curious. I can't wait to read all your guys' answers on all the shit that you left behind and got rid of, because maybe it'll make it in my next video when I turn 40 and I do a 30 things that I left in my 30s. And hopefully there'll be like different things. So yeah, that would be fun to read. I can't wait to read all your guys' comments. So thanks for watching, and I hope that this inspired you to maybe let go of something that you've been holding on to for the wrong reasons. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Stay safe, be kind to each other, and make sure you show grace to each other, because everybody is going through something. So, all right, guys, see you later.